What's up guys, Jared back, and I gotta say, at first glance, the LG G4 doesn't look like it, but it's quite the game changer. Now this is the first phone that I've used that takes manual camera controls to the level that the LG G4 takes it, and I actually want to talk about the camera first because it's easily the most exciting, at least for me, an impressive feature of this phone. With its 16 megapixel sensor for super crisp shots, laser autofocus for instant photo taking success, an aperture of f1.8 for amazing bokeh and fantastic low light shots, and a color spectrum sensor that seems to do a fairly good job, you're able to capture some pretty damn impressive shots, even just in auto mode. But that's just the thing, impressive shots even just in auto mode. You see, LG's changed the smartphone camera game. The G4 is the only smartphone with a camera aperture of f1.8, and for those of you that don't know what that means, basically it lets in a lot more light, as in less blurry and grainy looking indoor low light pictures, and you'll get some awesome out of focus background shots too. And that's an awesome step in the right direction and all, but where LG's really blown me away, and I mean really impressed me, is with its manual control settings they included. Now, I spent some time taking pictures in auto and manual of the same scenes, and while auto does a fantastic job, once I switched to manual and I was able to control the white balance in Kelvin, the shutter speed I wanted, and the ISO, shots went from looking great to looking amazing. It's more about how I wanted the picture to look rather than how the phone wanted it to look. And I like that control. Sometimes I want to portray a certain look or feeling, and you just can't do that with other phones to the degree that you can with the G4. Unless of course you're using a filter of some sort. And instead of hunting through menus to access all these controls, they're right on the screen, ready to adjust. Just awesome. And to top it all off, you're given the option to shoot in standard or raw JPEG for some serious editing later on. The front-facing 8 megapixel camera actually does a pleasant job at taking selfies. It's not nearly as good as the rear camera in low light, but does a great job in decent to good lighting. And again, I love that auto beauty mode, not that I need it or anything, but let's put it this way. If you're a photographer, or at least somewhat serious about your photos, you can stop watching the review now, because you owe it to yourself to go get this phone. Anyways, physically speaking though, it does look quite a lot like last year's G3, but this year the G4 comes with an ever so slight curve to it, giving it a much more natural feel when holding it to your face for phone calls. The display, which I'll touch a little more on in just a minute, is yet again 5.5 inches, which is just outside of my comfort zone, but still very manageable, especially with thin bezels on the top, bottom, and both sides. The whole thing's wrapped in plastic, giving us the now seemingly rare ability to remove the back for access to the battery, micro SD, and SIM card slots. And that's cool, but I've personally found that for me, the G4 is pretty slippery in the hand. In fact, I've dropped it several times now because of that. But what's awesome is that even though I've dropped it, there's been literally no damage caused. And that's with me dropping it from chest height to hardwood floor several times. So I guess the durability gets a thumbs up. Volume and power buttons being on the back has sort of been a hit or miss thing with many folks. For me, I'm more partial to having my controls on the sides of my devices, but it's really not that hard to get used to. And if you really can't, there's double tap to wake and sleep features. You can also quickly access the camera by double tapping the volume down button when the phone's asleep, which I actually use almost religiously. Just make sure you go into the shortcut key settings and disable quick shot, otherwise it'll snap a picture as soon as it launches the camera, which I kind of found annoying. Okay, so now let's talk battery life. Well, as many other reviewers have mentioned, standby time is awesome. I think I've been averaging like maybe 2% drainage for every 4 to 5 hours or so, which is pretty much right where we like it. But obviously screen on time is really what we're more interested in here, and I was able to reach 4.5 hours of screen on time from 100% battery to about 13%. Now everyone uses their phones differently, so some might find that they'll get even more, but 4.5 hours is nothing to complain about and is also exactly what we want to see. So what about the software experience? Well, we're looking at Android 5.1 Lollipop with LG's Optimus UX over top, and honestly, I really don't have much to complain about, except for one thing. The phone dialer has got to be the fuggliest thing I've ever seen. I think they're just trying to pack in a little too much there. But the rest of it looks clean, and you can tell LG decided to stick closely with the material design look and feel as you navigate around. which I really dig. I noticed some people didn't like the settings menu because the category tabs didn't fit the scrolling words. But why not just switch to list view mode? It's easier to navigate through anyways. I also really dig some of the device settings, like smart settings, which lets you set things like actions based on your geolocation or what happens when you connect your phone to a Bluetooth device. And smart cleaning is a perfect solution for those who may not understand why their phone's starting to run out of storage. Now, dual window is also still a thing, but it's a thing I literally never use. But at least it's there if you find it useful. Now, when it comes to device performance, man, I don't know. I mean, it's a fast phone. It has a Snapdragon 808. It has 3 gigabytes of RAM. It has an Adreno 418 GPU, but every now and then, it just hangs on an action. Like, I'd press something in the settings menu and it would register the screen tap, but nothing else happens. And just as I reach my thumb to tap it once more, it finally launches into that settings menu. It's rare, but happened to me on more than one occasion, so I thought it worth mentioning. But general performance has been great. Playing games is a breeze and looks awesome on that Quad HD display. There's also been no frame loss or noticeable stuttering for me either. So other than the odd hang-up, I'd give performance a thumbs up too. And finally, that 5.5-inch Quad HD display has got to be among the most color-accurate mobile LCD displays. Seriously, from the contrast and saturation to the gamma, it's just a stunning display. Overall, the LG G4 is an impressive phone with impressive characteristics and features. The game-changing camera, the 3000 mAh battery, and the display are all huge winners in my books. But I think the software performance stability still needs just a tiny bit of tweaking. The speaker on the back sounds okay and gets loud, but gets easily covered and muffled sounding while holding the phone in landscape mode. The size and slipperiness will send me back to my Galaxy S6 as my daily driver, but I think a case would solve half that problem, and then of course, size is subjective. But bottom line, you simply can't go wrong with the LG G4. But that's it for this one. Hopefully this helped shed some light on the ups and downs of this device. If you liked the video, do me a solid and tap that like button. And if you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more reviews from me in the future. But thanks as always for watching, and I'll talk to you all in the next one. Cheers.